Meet Edson Arantes do Nascimento, better known around the world as Pele. You may have heard of him referred to as the Black Pearl, the King of Football, or simply the King. Whatever the label, there is one most fans of the world game have cemented next to his name: the greatest football player of all time. From humble beginnings in southeast Brazil to brash displays on pitches around the world, Pele was feared as an athlete and revered as an ambassador. He may be considered the king, but no king can hide from the truth. In sports, there are some people you just love to hate. Barcelona and Uruguayan football fans love Luis Suarez, the rabbit-toothed renegade who scores goals with ease for both club and country. But sometimes his emotions get the better of him, and he becomes the hated by literally sinking his teeth into the opposition.
Perhaps I have to be more intelligent and breathe before making those mistakes, and before arguing and insulting.
In the NFL, Tom Brady has become such a poster boy for perfect, some would love to tackle him into the inferno.
Is Tom Brady a cheater?
I don't believe so. I mean, I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never do anything to break the rules.
Even the bench has become a place where you love to hate them.
If supposedly he is right and I am afraid of fail, it's because I don't fail many times.
Pele has had to juggle both the accolades and the attacks from fans and media alike. The haters bring up his faults. That one of his 3 World Cup wins was won on the back of another Brazilian great, Garrincha. That for a man who prides himself on his goal-poaching exploits, he never left the 4 World Cups he appeared in its top scorer. And that his career total of 1,283 goals included hundreds scored in unofficial matches. But those who played against him are united in shouting, nobody played the game better. Hungarian legend Ferenc Puskás said, "The greatest player in history was Di Stefano. I refuse to classify Pele as a player. He was above that." Sir Bobby Charlton claimed, "I sometimes feel as though football was invented for this magical player." And the late great Johan Cruyff admitted, Pele was the only footballer who surpassed the boundaries of logic. It seems there are few who hate the Brazilian great. Coming up, the extraordinary impact of Pele. One attribute that separates the icons of sport from the rest of the pack is the impact they make on the game they play. In cricket, Sir Don Bradman scored centuries at a rate unmatched and remains alone as the game's greatest icon. Nobody meant more to the sport of boxing than the powerful, pirouetting and polarizing heavyweight legend Muhammad Ali.
We will dance.
And when one thinks of ice hockey, one thinks of Wayne Gretzky. The world game has a few footballers who have left an indelible mark on the game, but no player has had a bigger impact than Pele. Santos FC is one of the most prestigious clubs in the top-tier Brazilian Football League, having never been relegated. But Santos is most synonymous with Pele, whose impact on the team was immediate, joining the Peixe, or Fish, at just 15 years of age and already touted as a superstar. As a 16-year-old, he became the Campeonato Paulista's top scorer, an achievement he replicated 9 consecutive times and 11 times overall, including the 1958 campaign where he scored 58 goals, a league record that still stands today. With a rarely seen complete arsenal of scoring weapons at his disposal, including a left foot that shoots with the same ferociousness and precision as his right, a heading ability normally reserved for players much taller than him, and the general acrobatics of a world-class gymnast, Pele proved to be virtually unstoppable. So it perhaps was no surprise that on November 19th, 1969, Pele would score his 1,000th career goal on a penalty kick against Vasco da Gama in front of thousands of adoring fans at the Maracanã. He also won 10 Campeonato Paulistas, 6 Campeonato Brasileiro, 2 Copa Libertadores, 2 Intercontinental Cups, and 1 Intercontinental Super Cup. Normally, a player of his stature would test his luck in European football sooner rather than later. And he did have his list of high-profile suitors, such as Manchester United, Juventus, and Real Madrid. But they were all turned down, as Pele was declared an official national treasure by the Brazilian government to keep him from being transferred away from Brazil. And so, in 1974, he retired from the sport. But the sport came calling again, this time from an unlikely source, the United States, a nation more passionate about a football of another kind. But Pele proved ready for the challenge. In 2015, Pele paid a visit to his old club, the New York Cosmos, and was treated like royalty. But there was a time in New York when the club president didn't even know who he was. In 1974, the New York Cosmos finished bottom in their division in the NASL, a league still struggling to find its soccer feet in a country that struggled to care about the sport. But their British sports writer turned general manager, Clive Toye, convinced President Steve Ross to go after Pele, a man Ross had never heard of before. But after Toye compared Pele's popularity to the Pope, Ross pulled off the transfer coup of the century in 1975.
The easiest way I can tell you the news that we have to impart is to say, here today we have the shirt, and tomorrow we shall have the man. Pelé has told us that he will return to soccer and will play for the New York Cosmos.
Despite coming out of retirement to start his new soccer adventure while in his late 30s, he helped guide the Cosmos to an NASL title in 1977. But it was his influence in putting soccer on the American map that was made palpable in his final game, when he played before a crowd of 75,646 in New York against his former team, Santos of Brazil. He scored on a free kick and then retired from the game he loved once and for all.
Everybody knows I pass I think a most important and most sad moment in my life, and I feel very, very sorry because I'm gonna stop to do what I like more in life, play soccer.
Every football nation has its icon. Hungary had Ferenc Puskás, Germany, Franz Beckenbauer. The Netherlands became total football with Johan Cruyff. And Argentina has always been Diego Maradona. Brazil has been blessed with a plethora of modern-day footballing legends. Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. Romario, Rivaldo, and Cafu. But no star has shined brighter for the Seleção at the World Cup than Pelé. though his initial impact with the tournament as a youthful spectator next to his father was anything but stellar.
Everybody knows, and then I mention again, my first World Cup, I was 8 to 9 years old, and then Brazil lost for Uruguay. You know? In Brazil, I saw my father cry for that.
He was soon determined to make the national side and put smiles on his family's faces. He succeeded on his Seleção debut. His first international match at the Maracanã on July 7th, 1957, saw him score Brazil's only goal in their 2-1 loss. At 16 years, 9 months, he became the youngest player to score on the international stage. It was the following year, however, when the teenage Pele truly became a footballing force. At the 1958 World Cup in Sweden, he was the youngest player and soon the youngest ever World Cup goalscorer with a goal against Wales at 17 years, 239 days. He became the youngest to score a hat-trick, netting 3 against France in the semi-final. And in the final against the host nation, not only did he become the youngest player to play in a World Cup final at 17 years, 249 days, but he scored 2 goals en route to a 5-2 victory. That gave him 6 goals in just 4 matches. At the 1962 World Cup in Chile, Pele scored in the opening game against Mexico, but an injury the next match left him watching the rest of the tournament from the sidelines. But it was another Brazilian legend, Garrincha, who took over the reins, guiding them to consecutive World Cup titles. At the 1966 World Cup in England, it was the host nation that came out on top, ending Brazil's World Cup dominance. Pele swore he'd never play in another World Cup again after his nation was eliminated in the group stages, with Portugal's tactics seemingly involving kicking the king of football until he could barely stand. But he returned in 1970 for what would be his final World Cup, and he ended it in style. The famous number 10 led his nation to a crushing 4-1 defeat of Italy in the final. He ended the tournament with 4 goals and the Golden Ball as its best player. Pele ended his international career in 1971 with 3 World Cup titles under his belt and a Seleção record of 67 wins, 14 draws, and just 11 losses. After the break, the ominous label of the next Pele. Although he may have been the king of football, one thing Pele definitely wasn't was Nostradamus. For example, he once predicted that English journeyman midfielder Nick Barnby would be as good as Zinedine Zidane, Paolo Maldini, or even his fellow countryman, Ronaldo. Pele was wrong. While Barnby scored 101 goals in 559 matches between 7 Premier League and League One sides, Ronaldo scored more than 3 times the goals in less matches, while winning 2 World Cups to Barnby's big round 0. Pele also mentioned that an African nation would win the World Cup by the turn of the century. Wrong again, King. In fact, between 1930 and 2014, only 3 African teams have even made the quarter-finals. Cameroon in 1990, Senegal in 2002, and Ghana in 2010. So when he mentioned that young Ghanaian Nii Lamptey would be the next Pele, the curse was on. And though exploited by a greedy agent, Lamptey would soon find himself running a humble football school in his home nation. The next Pele label has been stamped on a few others over the years, with one player wearing it admirably, another with intermittent success, and a third who wishes he was never given the name. Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., or simply Neymar, joined Santos in 2003 and made his debut with the senior side as a 17-year-old. Just a year later, he was named Campeonato Paulista Player of the Year, and while he was battling for a 2011 Continental double, comparisons to Pele were flying.
What can I say? Pele is the one and only. He is the unique king of football. To be able to reach his level is something I don't think I can do. It is very important to win the Club World Cup, not only for myself, but also for my teammates. It has a lot of meaning to win the title. We will do our best to achieve it.
Neymar played 5 seasons with the side Pele led for more than 20, scoring 136 goals in 225 total appearances, making him prime property for the world football elite. In the end, it was Barcelona who managed to sign the kid up in 2013, unveiling him to 57,000 screaming fans at Camp Nou while leaving his old team lamenting his loss.
He's a real great player, and any team in the world would like to have Neymar. We had the happiness to create another jewel. Santos is a great team to create jewels. I hope Neymar is very successful there. My only regret is just that he's leaving my team.
That said, his new team was later being charged with tax fraud after failing to reveal the exact amount of the transfer. Initially, it was said to be 57.1 million euro, but in reality, it was almost 30 million more. Nonetheless, where he really wanted to prove he was worth every penny was at the 2014 World Cup on home soil, where the comparisons to Pele were fueled by the man himself.
Listen, he is a good player, no doubt. I think will be like a Kaká, be like a Messi, no doubt, like a Cristiano Ronaldo, because like Zico, like Pelé, like Maradona, he has a chance for that because he's an excellent player. I hope he has a health for that.
Seen as the nation's World Cup savior, he was healthy until a Juan Zuniga challenge in their quarter-final defeat of Colombia left him with a fractured vertebra in his spine. Brazil lost their next match 7-1 to Germany, leaving the entire nation mourning his loss and the team's loss. But he bounced back with Barcelona that following season. In a year to remember, Neymar won La Liga and the Copa del Rey, as well as the UEFA Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, and FIFA Club World Cup. He scored 39 goals in just 51 matches. But Pele has cautioned everyone to tone the expectations down just a little, considering he has plenty of football ahead of him, having been born in February of 1992.
I hope that he's very lucky on his new journey, but Neymar is just starting. Technically, he's very good, but he has to get a lot more international experience. Moving to Barcelona was an excellent thing for him, in my opinion, because he will acquire experience by playing in Europe with one of the best teams in club football, and an organisation that's very good to him and supports his growth and development.
Pele is the Seleção's all-time leading goalscorer, having hit the back of the net 77 times in 91 matches. But Neymar is creeping up on the master, and who knows if in at least this one statistic he'll overtake him. If Neymar is the closest thing you get to Pele these days, as a little boy growing up in the municipality of Sao Paulo, he was influenced by another next Pele.
When I was a child, I wanted to be like Robinho. He was always my idol. He played at Santos. He played in European teams. So these were the dreams I had.
How could you blame him for wanting to be like Robinho? handpicked by Pele himself to join Santos as his heir apparent back in 1999 as a 15-year-old. Robinho led the side to their first Campeonato Brasileiro title since Pele played for the club. Soon European clubs came knocking, and the 2005 World Young Player of the Year ended up at the Stadio Bernabéu with Real Madrid. He started strong, scoring 12 goals in 51 appearances. But his inability to care much in training, or to play or score with any kind of consistency, made him a high-priced journeyman. Manchester City, AC Milan, Santos once again, even Guangzhou Evergrande. He made a career out of it, even at international level, where he's won 2 Confederations Cups and a Copa America. But it's not nearly enough to be the next Pele. If Pele brought soccer to the American masses, it's only fitting that someone from the country be given the next Pele label. And that unfortunate man was Ghana-born, Maryland-brewed Freddy Adu. The youngest American to ever sign a Major League Pro contract in any team sport. When he was chosen as the first overall pick in the 2004 MLS draft, the next Pele label was slapped onto the young boy, and he never really recovered. After just 11 appearances in 4 seasons with Benfica, he traveled the world in search of a destination to fulfill his Pele potential. He even tried out for Brazilian side Bahia in 2013, but lasted just a few months. Comparisons in sport are always hard, because once the great name is placed on your shoulders, you can sink or swim. The jury is still out on Neymar, whose incredible all-round Pele-like ability is often tarnished by his incredible ability to dive, leading Pele himself to warn, when he is fouled, he can't make a spectacle out of it. The remaining next Pelés, however, have proven that the weight and pressure of expectation is perhaps too much to bear. Still to come, the Black Pearl as a pensioner. In royalty, a modern-day king is seen more as a figure of formality, making appearances at events with a smile. For the king of football, life after his playing career shares a similar path. A decade after retiring from the sport, Pelé had a role in the World War II football film Escape to Glory, but his performance was anything but regal.
I thought you were my friend.
Well, yeah, my friend.
Yeah?
And to be fair with you, you don't dribble well, you don't kick well, but you could be a good goalkeeper. Keep training.
More than 3 decades after retiring, he couldn't hold back his tears as he ran a leg of the Olympic torch relay in Rio for the 2004 Games that took place in Athens, Greece. The tears shed were emblematic of the love he has for his country, and because of the regret of never having played in an Olympics. That's because he was raised at a time when only amateurs participated in the Games. Wrong place, wrong era.
I just want to remind you, for the Olympics, only 3 professionals can play. And I'm one of them.
Ironically, the International Olympic Committee would name him the Athlete of the Century, despite never being an Olympian. And less than 4 decades after retiring, he was awarded the Golden Foot, dedicated solely to him as the greatest football player to have ever played the game. Sure, his life hasn't been all cruisy when you consider he's had various children from various affairs, been criticized for his political views, and even had a son named Edinho who was sentenced to 33 years in jail for drug trafficking and money laundering. But besides the frequent guest of honor appearances and FIFA World Cup qualification draws, he's been a solid United Nations goodwill ambassador. Considering he came from poverty, Pele is now more than able to give back, and his efforts haven't gone unnoticed, having won the HMV Nipper Legend of Football Award in 2013.
What a magnificent ambassador this man has been for not just football, but for the world in general. So I would like to congratulate him not just on his football, but for him being such a great ambassador.
How fitting that Edson Arantes do Nascimento, or Pele, was named after Thomas Edison, the man who invented the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the light bulb. Because Pele was a football inventor in his own right, able to play football like music from a phonograph, and charm the motion picture cameras with his every move. With so much talent, it was impossible not to steal the spotlight. And that is the truth.